let's talk about changes, because there's a lot of them going on. The newest and flashiest change around here is our new machine. We bought a Takisawa TCC 1100 L2. I honestly stumbled upon this machine on accident, not on accident, but like Google search, random Google search. We needed a CNC lathe to make small parts more efficiently. You've seen we've used the Omniturn, and I have a love-hate, mostly love relationship, but mostly like that kind of like crazy ex-girlfriend love. I love that machine. It's stupid. It runs on DOS. It has the most bullshit issues ever. Like, it's a bulletproof machine, except for sometimes it just decides it doesn't want to work. And, you know, we're doing a production round of trombones coming up. We're making parts for other people. So it's gotten to the point where it was, I wouldn't say it was a no-brainer to buy that machine, but I was ready to take that risk. Some people might not have, because, you know, frankly, it's a lot of money. I spent about $70,000 on that machine, which for a CNC lathe is on the low end. Spectrum, but for the point we're at, it's a lot of money. Well, I guess this is almost a year old at this point, but I bought a Haas TL1 as well. That was, I think, January. It got delivered. It was like December, around Midwest I bought it. And it got delivered in the last couple days of December, and then we were running it, and then, but really we started using it in January. And we bought that machine, again, like, you know, we needed capacity to make bell mandrels that we didn't have before, because I was making them manually. We didn't have any like solid POs, but we were getting, you know, feelers from companies on making bell mandrels for them. It's really important to us to be able to do it here so that we can control the actual specs of the mandrel, but also we can iterate a lot quicker and a lot less expensive. You know, for the cost of the TL1 is like $39,000 or $40,000. You can get 4 bell mandrels made in the United States for that cost. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Timing was actually worked out perfect. I didn't announce, or not that it's like people need to know what's my bullshit, but I didn't make a big deal. You know, people get machines that make a big deal. I'm making a big deal again with Takisawa. I actually don't know why. I've taken a little bit of a step back, at least in the type of stuff we post. Partially, it's just, you know, my relationship with customers is changing. I get very stressed out by customer interaction. Not to say that I don't want to talk to you, I do, but it's a huge responsibility and it's not my strong suit. So actually, that leads to other big news, which we'll go into later. Because of how some small percentage of my customers interact with me, I shied away from posting a little bit more, because sometimes I would post something and then someone would comment on the post or message me and email me and call me 30 times a day asking why I'm doing this project and not their project, which has been here for a little bit. Partially that is my fault for not being good at scheduling, but also I feel as these people are being a little too pushy and are not understanding of my workload and my time. I digress. I just shied away a little bit. I'm trying to get back into it because it is really important and it's really fun. I think it's really fun to document kind of what we're doing, because I think we're doing something here that is very special, and I think people are starting to notice. The Haas, we bought it just to make bell mandrels and support tooling. It's literally, we're using it as a tool room lathe, as the TL stands for. You know, it's Haas's pretty much most basic lathe. It has a manual tool changer, which like a Matura lathe. It's really nothing fancy, you know, but it does what we need, and it was very affordable, and Haas makes it so easy to get a machine and get financing and get all that, so it was a pretty easy process. Takisawa was and is still currently a different story. I don't think we're going to go into it. Well, I'll say this, the machine is phenomenal. It is exceeded expectations. It reads code in 5 digits, which is pretty rare. It's glass scales and the axes, it's hyper accurate. And that is all strengthened by the fact that it's box ways. It has fine pitch ball screws. It has basically 7 inches of Z travel. Usually they put glass scales on a machine that has like 20 inches of Z travel, so that as the machine heats up, the scales can adjust the machine position, not in the code, but in the control, so that it'll account for the heat temperature fluctuations. But this machine's 7 inches in Z, so it's a very small, very, very, very small machine, which is the reason I bought it. You guys have seen the shop a lot. We have some limitations here in this building, and it's something that I think about a lot, because I really have no intention of leaving this building. I have more intention of expanding the building. We have a whole lot next to us that we can build into. There's also a garage that used to be part of the property that would be perfect for a machine shop. I think I will ever sell it. I don't know. There's a lot of thinking there. In the short term, we needed a machine that could make potentially the most accurate and nicest, and just a machine we could really rely on to just consistently put out the best parts, best finishes, best everything we can get. And I would compare that to the wider industry. I don't think anyone is able to get a finish like we're able to get on this machine, at least in the music industry. There's some parts, we'll do a video, a short or something, of a part coming out of the machine and going to the buffing room because we're not using any fancy tooling. We use a Witty VGCT or VCGT 432, I believe, insert. It's a sharp aluminum insert, and we use that insert. Really nothing fancy. There's some speeds and feeds. It's really not crazy, pretty rudimentary, but the machine is so rigid and is so accurate that the finish that comes off these, I machine the part and I can take that part and go to a loose cotton Red Rouge buff, and I will buff it, and it is 99% perfect. Sometimes you see toolpath lines, there's a weird toolpath, which is normal. You'll see that on any part, and it'll go away if you trip it. We've been doing these ferrules that have really, I would say, complex OD geometry. They're not functionally, but aesthetically. But they buff on Red Rouge in seconds. It's pretty amazing. It makes me wonder why some mouthpiece makers don't just get a nicer machine, and then they don't have to buff their mouthpieces as much. The spot we're in now is so unique, and it's always been the intention. We're one of the only shops in the world that are not only able to make essentially every part of any brass instrument that anyone would ever need, but more so that we're willing to do it. And we have systems in place, and it's a strong word calling them systems because it's really just kind of shit that we make up. But we have the machines, we have the tooling, we have the ability to make the tooling, to make really any part for any instrument. And I'm willing to do it. I have people with me now who are equally willing and more so skilled to do it well. People come to us all the time. We do a good bit of work for Allied Supply now. We do work for small makers, independent makers. We're not beholden to making 100, 200, 300 parts. So, we'll happily do it when Allied wants some stuff. If you need 10 of a part, if you need 20 of a part, if you need one bell, we'll happily do it. And that makes us really special. It also makes it really difficult to forecast, makes it really difficult to schedule. It makes for a lot of growing pains, and that's what we've been running into this year. We're growing at an insane rate. It's a scary rate. It's a lot of stress. I'm not the type of person who knows how to use a spreadsheet properly. Everything I do is very much based on instinct, and that goes for making instruments as well as business. There's a lot of positives that come from that, I think, but I do lack a lot in organization and communication, which is why I am hiring other people to do that for me, and I think the people that I'm hiring will excel at it, and that'll free me up to do more of what I'm actually good at, which is figuring stuff out. The rate we're growing between this year and last year, this current year and last year, this time we're over 200% increase in gross profit, as well as more than 300% increase in throughput. And that most of that is, what Adam and Dave have done and how they've stepped up. And Adam's killing it. Cutting, folding, brazing. His brazings are so good now. It makes me so happy. He's doing all the bell steps up until the blank, and then all I have to do after there is inside spin it, and then he's been drawing the bells. He's been killing it, and that's been just an insane help. And then Dave's been handling all the repair, all the weird one-off kind of custom work that we do, as well as helping wherever when we need to sand, we need to buff, we need to do anything. He just jumps in and is very willing to help, which is very nice. It's really hard to find people who are flexible, and people who are good at being flexible is another thing. Those two guys have really been most of the reason why, because having their help on some of the stuff that I've done a billion times frees me up to do other stuff, or even frees me up to answer emails, which I've gotten a lot better at, even though I still suck at it. Other than that, there's been a shift in my thinking. I spent a lot of time, at least I felt like I spent a lot of time treading water. Really, when we moved into this building, business was like nothing. Not nothing, it was very much a business that probably should have stayed operating in someone's garage, not a business that should occupy a 6,000 square foot factory. I've been working on instruments since I was 15. So that's it's 11, 12 years now. And the entire time I've had this intent. And I'm very lucky to have people around me who support that. And that's how we were able to get in this building and get this all going. And it is currently paying off because the work we do is such a vacuum. There's no one else doing what we do in the United States. There's people who are making complete instruments. Guys like Ron Glynn, Benchmark Trumpets. Mark Atkinson makes French horns. He makes most every part. There's a sort of intent and a sort of intention to scale here. Either, I don't think Ron wants to make 1,000 trumpet bells in a year or supply, the industry with a certain part. I do. I intend to. It grew to be bigger than just me before I was really ready for it. And then this whole year has been playing catch up and trying to figure out how to, one, be responsible at least a little bit more, and two, like, be responsible to the people who are coming here to help me. Not that I was like a bad person before. Like, when we show up now, we love having fun. We're never going to stop goofing around, but there's a intention to work. And there's something really special about the culture that we're growing. Everyone here as a group really doesn't want to kind of turn into the legacy companies we know for a fact have and had. Old, grumpy asshole nature to instrument makers. It's very frustrating, and they don't like teaching people their jobs because they're afraid the boss is going to fire them, and then they'll die, and then, you won't know how to ball out valve knuckles, or the guy has a stroke at work, and then you're like, oh shit, we're gonna have valve casings this week. And that will not fly here. We have specialities. Everyone can know how to do everything if they want to, and I think that's really important. Cross training is a great word to throw around in board meetings, but there's a reality to how much you can expect to cross train and how much you can expect an average person to actually care about what goes into a trumpet. Like, if you go to Bach today, the workforce isn't musicians. It's not people who are here because they have a personal connection to an instrument. On the whole, it's people who just want a job and they happen to work at Bach. It's really fun in older instrument factories. Like, at that certain scale, it'll be Schilkes and Bachs and Kahns, not Schilke, Bach, and Kahn. It's just like it's the Jewels, like the grocery store down the street. A local sign. It's not a Vincent Bach master trumpet maker. It's just like, oh, this is a facility that makes trumpets, and they're going to pay me $12 an hour to solder lead pipes crooked. A lot of considerations going on, and I'm trying very hard to not go down the same mistakes, the same paths that people have done in the last 10, 15 years with instrument companies that they started. I can count on my hand 1, 2, 3 instrument companies who started with the intent of making instruments, and then now they import instruments and then kind of make instruments. But 90% of their business is from imports. I don't think that's what they intended to do out the gate, but it turned into the reality of what they had to do. Relying on an individual brand is really hard to scale, because if you're O'Malley trumpets, if all we did was make trumpets, or O'Malley trumpets, we might have a strong first few years when people on Trumpet Herald are really excited about our stuff, get a major player to play on it. But after a couple of years, you hired a bunch of people to make these trumpets because you had orders coming out your ass. A couple of years, maybe you slow down a little bit. There's a natural decompression of the demand for your instrument, and that's just normal. So when you slow down, you're caught in this weird place where you used to be something. You still might make great trumpets, and you still might sell a lot of trumpets, but you're not. It's very volatile. The model that we have, where there's essentially 3 or 4 different businesses happening here, and it's all under one roof. It's very akin to Schilke Music Products when they were down in Wabash. It was a music store where they made trumpets in the back, and then they did custom work. They did all these different things, and they were able to do that because of their workforce. They had some insanely talented workers at old Schilke, and people who cared a lot. Everyone who worked at Schilke was a musician, who was a trumpet player, went to school down the street at DePaul or Roosevelt or wherever, and they wanted a job at Schilke's because it's fucking Schilke's. Whereas now, Schilke, it's the same thing. There are musicians there, but it's a commodity. It's built up to this need. We need to make these trumpets because they're ordered, and that's great, and that's like the goal of running a business. I believe in life cycles. For me, for my business, for O'Malley Brass Instruments, I intend for my business to die at some point. I really don't want some cut rate instrument guy or even venture capital or dude whose wife got a bunch of money and bought him an instrument company. I don't want that to be the future of our business after I'm dead. I would rather have a solid, however many years, 50, 60 years of making some of the highest quality components and parts and instruments that the world's ever seen. And then at a certain point, the company's going to cease to exist. We pass on tools, we pass on equipment, knowledge, everything. And the YouTube videos we do, the entire point is to teach people more about what they can do. Because even though I would like to supply the world with every part to an instrument they would ever need, there's nothing I look forward to more than seeing someone else do what I do. There's people who assemble trumpets and assemble French horns, but I would love for some young person to pop up who makes French horns, who makes the bell, or makes valves, or bends crooks, all this stuff. Because I think the model of purchasing components for a boutique instrument and purchasing every component and just assembling it, I think that model is going to cease to exist. Because of the internet, people are becoming more aware what goes into a thing. Importing is going to get harder. It's going to get easier in some ways, but it's going to get harder to sell. It's the same thing because French horn that's assembled out of components sourced from all over the world is an import instrument. It might play like $1 million. There's not much of the craftsperson in that instrument. You can sell a custom lead pipe for $1,600 all you want. It's a $40 tube. You could buy it from us. There's a certain barrier, and I understand people got to eat. There's a huge discrepancy between what the value of something is and what people actually sell it for. And that's something that really bothers me. That's why our pricing is explicit on our website. We don't have retail pricing and manufacturer pricing. The price on our website is the price. It doesn't matter if you're Bach. It doesn't matter if you're, Jimmy Jaglongs who wants to put a trumpet together in his garage. It's the same price. You get volume discounts. If you order a 400 bells, we'll do it for a lot less. And we have a customer who does that. But if you order one bell every couple years or every 6 months, it's the same price, $450 for a yellow brass trumpet bell. And I think it's really important to just be very upfront with pricing. And our pricing is higher than some other suppliers, but our offering is so diverse that I think it's something that can be very easily relied on. And, a trumpet lead pipe blank is $50 from us, but a trumpet lead pipe assembly from Bach is non-existent. You can't get them. So we're trying to fill a void that manufacturers have left, I think, because the manufacturers have been underpricing their components. There's a reason you're seeing some American manufacturers not able to or not wanting to supply parts for repairs. I think it's because they've been undervaluing their components, their repair parts. Not saying that everyone should jack up their prices, but I think if you take a close look at what it actually costs to supply a replacement tube for a Con 38B trumpet, it's more than just a piece of brass. Having the mandrel, it's having the time to draw one tube for someone, polish it, all this stuff. So it's really important. This is crazy. Colin's gonna have really a lot of fun editing this. This business is changing so much, and it's all great. Is it all great? Yeah, it's all great. Yeah, our building has some severe, I'm like such scattered. You're gonna have to jump it all around. Pepsi Max. When it comes to machinery, our building it's an old building. It was built in 1899. It's not exactly suited to be a machine shop. Ironically, it was a machine shop the entire time. Different world. It's not suited to be a hyper-precision modern machine shop where the machines have 1,000 IPM rapids like the Takisawa does. We have wood floors over a basement. There's some pretty big beams down there. We have some other auxiliary supports under some of the bigger machines, but it's not optimal. I'm not willing to put a lot more weight. I'm not willing to put a 10,000 pound machine on these floors. The heaviest machine I have is the pacemaker, and it's about 6,000 pounds. There's some steel support under it, though. I wouldn't put that just on the wood. The Takisawa is about 3,500, 4,000. So it's a pretty compact machine, which is the reason I bought it, because at the time when I bought it, we don't have a big bay door. We just have a 4-foot man door. The actual opening is about 47 inches. 47 and a quarter, actually. And I know that because I confirmed with the machine dealer that this machine would fit through my door. And it ended up not fitting through my door. We're gonna put that all in a separate video because we have video of getting the machine delivered. It's really cool. What we had to do to get the machine in the door, or machine in where the door used to be, let's just say.
I'm wondering if we can get someone out here to give us a quote on reinstalling that door or putting it in the door.
So that's fun. But that's a pretty big limitation. A 4-foot door. There's not a lot of machine tools that fit through a 4-foot door. I was looking at a Haas CL1. It's their little hardened chucker style machine. It looks like a sweet machine. It's cheap. It's like, it would have been like 50 grand. It's a Haas, so I know the control, fusion posts all work out the gate. It would be a no-brainer if we only made parts under 1 inch in diameter, because that machine can only run 1 inch in diameter bar through the spindle, which is a pretty big bummer. If they made a 16C version of that machine, I would have bought it instantly, because inch max bar is so limiting. At least it would be 1 inch and 1/8. That'd be cool. I understand it's 5C, so you can't really get true 1 inch and 1/8, but it's so limiting. Otherwise, it seems like a pretty cool machine. I heard the bar feeder sucks, so that was another little hold up. Just through Googling, I found the Takisawa, and it's kind of a crazy machine for that footprint. It fits, as it was delivered, I found out it's like a 52-inch long machine by pretty much a 52-inch square, so just over a 4-foot square. The machine I bought has a 12-station turret, which is a lot. Big turret for a small machine. 7 inches of Z, so it's pretty short Z travel, but the longest part we make is Kyle's stupid trumpet receiver, and it's like 3 inches long, so you can do that. I don't know how many inches the X, but you can run up to 1 inch and 5/8 bar, which encapsulates pretty much every part you need to make, unless you were making tuba rotors, which even then it might fit a tuba rotor casing. Maybe not the cap, but the casing would work, which I don't have interest in doing. 1 inch and 5/8 bar, Originally, I ordered the machine with a 16C collet chuck. The chuck that showed up was 9 inches of gauge length, so it literally could not have worked on this machine, so that was a little frustrating. But it's just a really kick-ass machine. It's a Japanese boxwave machine. It's meant for like turning steel hydraulic flanges that are 6 inches in diameter. And we're running, in most cases, we're running 7/8 brass bar in it. It's a fucking tank. Like, it's so much fun. I'm very proud of it. The machine got delivered, installed, and the apps guy showed up, did a day of training, and when he came back for the second day of training, the next day, I had like 6 part numbers already machined, like 50 of each-ish, maybe 25, 50 of each, because I got the post dialed in, and then Fusion templates. I mean, Fusion 360 is insanely easy. It's like Microsoft Paint easy. I'm not a computer person, and I haven't figured out. Like, it is so well integrated, especially this is a 2-axis machine. There's no live tooling, no sub-spindle. It's just a 2-axis single spindle machine. It's dead simple, and Fusion makes it that much easier. Last night, we were talking about we need to trim rings for Bach lead pipe assemblies, which we're going to be offering in both rubber brass and silver plate, which is a big deal because you can't get them anywhere else. And we needed a bunch of trim rings, like 50 trim rings. I was like being lazy, and I was like talking to Dave. I'm like, oh, you could just machine them manually, and he was being all grumbly. And I was like, F it. And I opened my computer. It took me about 7 minutes between programming in Fusion and making the first part. I single block. The machine's new, and even I'm trying very hard. This is the getting more responsible thing I was talking about. I have single blocked every single part. No, single block is a strong word. I have single blocked most of the scary operations. Like, I'll single block drilling and boring operations. OD turning and the parting, I will op stop and feed hold, 0 rapids, feed hold. It goes really slow, and I'll just watch it, cool it off. But I've done that on every single program I've loaded on there, and I intend to do that forever. Even when I know the machine's not going to off on me because Fusion's good, I have to do it this way because I need to be responsible and not crash this machine because it was all of my money. So I'm very proud of the fact that I actually done that. But between Fusion templates, which are just bulletproof for this simple machine, it's so easy to make parts. We've made about 20 part numbers worth of parts on there, and they've all come off just insane. And the tooling is not crazy, it's nothing special, it's just like very simple. And we essentially can leave all of the tools in the machine, and the only tool you have to change out between parts is the drill, because we use either a 3/8 drill or a 1/2 drill, sometimes a 1 drill on a variety of our parts. Most parts have the 1/2 drill for trombone and 3/8 drill for trumpet. So it's simple to swap out a drill into the same holder position, turret position, and then just reset the Z offset. Very quick, very efficient, and then all the other tools are the same on every part because we have 12 stations. We have enough flexibility, and our parts are grouped well enough to be able to do that, which is so cool. Anyways, enough about the Takisawa. We'll do that in another video about getting it delivered. We'll try to get that up soon. Change is hard. I've been a very change-adverse person my whole life, and this last year has been a lot of changes. And they've all been good. It's just, I'm not set up to handle it very well. I muddle through. That's kind of just my general programming, is to just work through stuff until it works. Trying to keep up with what's been going on here has been really, really difficult. And more big news, probably the biggest news, is I'm hiring Kyle. You guys know Kyle? He was in a video once, Kyle Lambert, to fix my life. He's going to handle the phones and email, all communication with customers, and then he's going to help out in the shop whenever we need it. He has bench skills, and he's very good at, he knows trumpets very well. We're going to teach him trombones and French horns, which is going to be fun. But he's going to be our point of contact with people, which is awesome. He's also going to work on production schedule that's outside of my head, and things like that, which is going to be super cool. It's just a breath of fresh air because I am bad at communication. I'm just not good at it. I do my best work in the middle of the night, and I haven't had that schedule this year because I need to be up to make sure Adam and Dave know what they need to do and all that stuff, be here for packages and customers. Not saying I'm going to go back to that schedule, but I've been thinking about coming in a little later once Kyle's up here and all set up. It would make me a bit happier, I think. I like working with other people. I like working with Adam and Dave, of course, and I like working with Kyle. Something about it, I have my best ideas when I'm tired and it's late at night and I'm alone in the shop, and I just figure bullshit out. And I felt like this year I've had less brilliant ideas. It sounds so egotistical. I've had less breakthroughs this year in terms of hands-on stuff, and more breakthroughs in terms of the business side of stuff, which is really cool. But I just want to figure out how to make trumpet bells better, how to make everything easier and better and sound better, play better, be easier to make. That's the best shit ever. Lots changing. We're doing a lot of work. Appreciate you all bearing with me. This is a weird video. I don't think I've ever talked to the camera like this on YouTube. Gotten all introspective. Usually I'm very, keep it very loose, keep it cozy, keep it jazzy, you know? But no, I think it's important that people know that this is fucking hard. And we're trying very hard to do something that no one else has been able to do. And we intend to be around for a long time. I think we'll do a video, so we'll do the Takisawa video. And then once Kyle's here, we're going to do a new product video. Because we have, I mean, there's been so many products we've been working on in the last 6 months that just haven't been put on the website because I just haven't had the brain space to even consider doing it. Like, well, you know, trumpet lead pipe assemblies, trombone inner and outer tubes, which is a big one. That's going to be fucking sick nasty. Yeah, so we're going to get all that stuff on the website so you can just buy it. One click, you can buy a set of Bach 42 inners and outers. That's the special stuff right there. Try to get those from Allied. Oh yeah, I want to show you something. I found some funny stuff. Saw this a couple months ago. This is some old notebook shit. I'll take a picture of this, Colin, and I'll put it up. This is my notebook from when I was in high school. And I recognize it because it has this really weird cover with UB and like a parakeet. And apparently Dave has been using this notebook for trombone stuff. There's a couple of things that are really funny. There's a first page is like a page of my expenses from when I was 14 and my gains is what I call them. And I bought a drill press for $120, a buffer for $100, a bandsaw for $130, scroll saw for $80, some Sero bend for $150, a little belt sander for $75, and a torch for $200. It must have been a Smith little torch. And then I bought a Mark Atkinson Build-A-Horn. I was probably the only person who ever did it. For $4,200. That was my grandpa left me savings bonds. And I had them forever and they didn't mature. And then one day they like matured and I went to the bank and cashed them in and I got like $3,800 and I had some little extra money and I bought a Mark Atkinson Build-A-Horn. It's the same bananas. Benches. $100 and a spinning lathe for $1,800. So I was more than 18. Yeah, I would have been about probably 18. This would have been during freshman year of college. And then under the gains, it's $220 from Brother Rice, which was my high school. So apparently I did something for that. This was back when I wanted to make a gyro horn. There's another page that's about rethinking design on gyro horns. So that's a good one. We'll upload all this shit because I started with absolutely no idea what I was doing. This page is funny because it says this was like me trying to find out how to learn how to do stuff, and it's just a list of like places I could potentially go. And the first one's Red Wing, which is I never actually like looked into it. I don't think. Conselmer, Schilke's, Atkinson, and then it's West Hatch, George McCracken, Schilke again, Edwards, Getson, Pickett, Bott, Blackbird, Shires, Eastman, Patterson. And it says community college machine shop, spinning, larger shop. I was very good at making those. The best way to eat the elephant is one spoon at a time. That's so lame. Why would I write that? That's pretty cool. Just shows what you can do. There's another page somewhere. There's a picture, my first print of a drawbench. Somewhere in here there's like a list of equipment that I wanted. And it's funny because I have like 6 of every one right now. We've come so far. I've been a legitimate business for... No, it's actually really funny. It's like a couple days ago on the dot, 6 years. 2018 is when I was a legal business. I mean, I was back in my parents' garage. We've come so far. Went from being, a kid that people were on Facebook, people were like, oh wow, so cool, blah, 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 blah. And people just kind of like, it's not pity, but it's like young person, like pick me up talk that people do. They think you need like a pat on the back. Almost everyone is genuine. I'm not saying they are, but it went from being like that to now when you see, like when people come here, they're like shocked. We'll have people who just think we're a repair shop, and then they walk in the front room and they're like, oh wow, it's messy. And we show them the back and they just like absolutely flip out at what we have and what we're able to do. I mean, I'll show you the table. This is all stuff I have to ship, and it's all stuff that we've made in the last couple weeks, which is crazy. The potential here is, I think it's limitless. It just has to be steered correctly. In the right directions at the right time. That's what we're trying to do. That's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions about like how to start something, just start doing shit. Everyone will be better off. My business would be better off if we had 2 competitors. I genuinely believe that, and I welcome that. So please, it'd be cool. Have some friends.